Welcome to the Empowered Working Mom Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Justine Wentzell-Chang. Our mission here is to amplify the stories of all moms so that they can be seen, heard, and supported in their motherhood journey, regardless of whether they're balancing motherhood with an external career or choosing to dedicate themselves fully to motherhood. We believe here that everyone has a unique story, and we found that storytelling is an impactful way to connect and learn from one another. Because sharing and listening to each other's stories makes us feel connected, supported, and inspired. We're excited to bring you diverse stories from fellow working moms like you. So grab your favorite drink, get cozy, and listen in to today's story to feel acknowledged, encouraged, and most importantly, that you're not alone in your experience as a working mom. Hey there, mamas. Before we dive into today's conversation, I wanted to share some exciting news with you. As someone who deeply understands and knows and experiences the juggle of motherhood and the importance of having support along the way, I'm excited to announce that I am reopening up my individual mental well-being coaching practice. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges or just simply seeking ways to create more balance and joy in your journey, I'd be honored to walk alongside you. And so you can schedule a free chemistry call with me for us to meet and get to know each other and see if we're a good fit. That link is in the show notes, or you can go to our website, www.JustlineAuYeung, that is JostlineAuYeung.com, to schedule a free chemistry call with me. And also, because I believe every mama deserves access to tools that support her well-being, I've also created some beautiful free resources on our website to help you take that first step toward a more balanced and fulfilling life. You can find those free resources also on the website, www.JostlineAuYeung.com/resources, to download them for yourself. All right, now let's dive into today's conversation that I know will resonate with so many of you who are trying to navigate motherhood, career, and personal growth all at once. So I'm excited to introduce you to Justine Wentzell-Chang, a fellow mama who wears many powerful hats. She's the eldest daughter of immigrants, an activist, and a brilliant copywriter and messaging strategist who helps BIPOC and women-owned businesses create positive cultural change. As a mom who launched her business during the pandemic while raising her son, Justine brings a valuable perspective on trusting your gut, breaking generational cycles, and building a career that honors your role as a mom. And in this episode, we explore everything from the unexpected ways that motherhood transforms our priorities to how understanding ourselves better, whether through human design or embracing our neurodivergence, can really help us make choices that truly serve both our families and our ambitions. So if you've ever felt torn between societal expectations and your mama instincts and intuition, or if you're seeking permission to create your own path as a working mom, then this conversation is for you. I will have to say that having this conversation with Justine really resonated with me in helping me feel seen and not alone as a mom who is also a business owner and who is also defining my own career path. As always, I invite you to grab your favorite drink and try and find a quiet, cozy spot and join us for this real, raw, and empowering discussion about redefining success on our own terms as working moms. So are you ready? Let's dive in. All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome, moms, to another episode. I am excited for today's guest, and we're welcoming Justine Wentzell-Chang to the show. So welcome, Justine.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, same here. So I would love to start off our conversation with asking you about your significant moment in your life, whether that's personal or professional, and how that shaped like your path as a mom and as a working mom, because I know you are a working mom as well. So I'd love to hear, about a significant moment in your life.
I think the significant moment that really impacted who I am and how I operate as a working mom was actually like becoming a mom. Like the like up until the moment my son was actually born and like in my hands, I was very much like career minded, and I was telling people like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, I'll be available. Like I'll be able to attend this event like after the baby's born or whatever." Um and I just thought like I would go back to work easily. At that point I was already freelancing, but still like thought, didn't think much of it. Um and I had the idea that like I'm not going to let this baby shape my life. I'm going to like make him fit into my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
That completely changed when he was born. Um and I just did not expect how attached I would become to him. Um and like I didn't want to to leave him. It was also like my first time becoming a mom, so everything was new, and they're just like nervous about, am I feeding him enough? Is he growing enough? All that. Just like trying to keep a tiny human alive. But he was also born at the start of the pandemic, literally like March 2020.
Oh, wow.
So that, it forced us to be together as well. But I like something just completely shifted in me. And I was so grateful to be freelance and like, okay, I want to be at home with him, but I still wanted to work. I wasn't wanting to like stop working, but I wanted to really spend time with him. And I like really understood the importance of that bonding in that first year, even. And because of the pandemic, we actually were lucky, I think, to have that. It like
Mm-hmm.
allowed us to, and forced us to be at home together. But I think of like other countries and how they had just have better parental support and leave and all that. Some with a year off for parents. Um, and it's so vital and critical to their well-being, to our and their growth. And yeah, I just like suddenly was like, I don't want to work for someone else because I need flexibility and I want to shape my life around being a present parent.
Yeah.
That was really the biggest like shift, like pivotal moment in shaping who I am as a working mom. Because before that, I had like other ideals of what it meant to be a working mom. Yeah.
Same, same here. I resonate with that. Before my oldest was born, I was like, yeah, I'm coming back full time, everyone. I got this. And then I was like, woo, it's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
huge like reality check,
yeah.
once you hold that baby in your hands. And it's so interesting. I didn't know that your firstborn was born during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and love how you found the silver lining in it, but also like if that didn't happen, the experience of the first year would have been, I would
Well,
have
it's
imagined
different.
it
Yeah.
would have been
I don't
different.
know what it would be like, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, thank goodness, like people aren't bringing their germs over. And so I don't know what it's like to deal with like a sick newborn or anything.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and also it sounds like it gave you more clarity on like what kind of work and career you wanted for
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Cause I love my work, and I've been growing this business, and it's been a challenge. And especially with the pandemic and having the baby at a time when like um, things were starting to grow and do well, then suddenly everything stopped.
Yeah.
Because I never intended to have my own business actually, but I sort of accidentally fell into freelance copywriting, and just writing in general, and it was growing. I was doing fine, like I was getting jobs on Upwork, and and things were continuing to progress. And then sort of like I said, I went on maternity leave because I was like, yeah, I can take maternity leave, but then also the world shut down.
Yeah.
So then like work shut down when I was ready to come back, and I had to like start over essentially. And figure out how do I actually do this as a real business? How do I really grow as a copywriter? While also like being able to build a life that allows me to be a present parent. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's really a good segue into I'm wondering what were the challenges you've experienced as a mom and how did you like overcome those challenges? Like how
Yeah.
or even navigate through the challenges? Because I'm like listening to your show, I'm like, okay, new mom, pandemic, business, you're a business
Yeah.
owner, and being a business owner through the pandemic, it was hard,
Mhm.
right? And so I'm curious to hear like what were those challenges and how did you get
Yeah.
through
I mean, thankfully, I've had a really supportive partner and parents too. At the beginning, we, again, sort of just like fatefully, we moved in with my parents for that first year, and it worked out because it became our bubble. So
them?
we had our support during that first year of the pandemic. Um, but the challenges I feel like they're not so unique. It's really just it's the mom guilt of like, okay, if I'm working, I'm not spending time or giving my kid the attention he needs and deserves. Um, if I'm playing with him or like giving him like putting him to bed, like he doesn't go to bed without me being there. Like until he's fallen asleep, then I can go back to work. But if I'm not doing those things, then I'm running out of time to like do the work I need to do, like client work or even just business building work, you know?
Mhm.
So it's just that constant struggle. But I think going back to what I said earlier, recognizing that it's so important, especially now we know like the first 5 years of our kids' lives are so impactful on their development. So, like, just saying, you know what, work has to wait right now. If I have to
Mhm.
suffer a little in lack of sleep or something, I will for this period and, like, be with him and enjoy those moments. So, it's sort of just having a little bit of a mindset shift
Mm.
of like, this is just what it is, and recognizing too that other parents, especially other moms, are going through the same thing, and like I'd rather spend the time with my son and enjoy these moments and hopefully positively impact his development than like constantly working. And I still have a lot of moments where I'm like, sorry baby, I need you to play by yourself right now and mommy needs to work. And it's gotten to the point where it's like cute, but I feel bad because he's like pretending to work too.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if he really understands that I'm a writer because he just sees me on the computer. But he like even just the other day, I think on the way to school, he was like, I have to work a lot and I'm like working so much. I'm tracing my letters and numbers, but nobody's giving me money. And I was like, "Oh, baby, you don't need to work right now. Like your job is just to be a kid and have fun and learn and grow." He's like, "No, I have to work like so we can make money." And it's like, "Oh gosh, like all my stress is clearly like manifesting in him, but but I don't know. I try to at times give myself some grace, but it's hard. Like the lack of sleep, the past couple months have been especially busy, and I'm grateful for that. But it is like, okay, do I sleep right now or do I keep working or um
Yeah.
those
How do
kinds
you
of challenges? Yeah.
yeah, how do you make those choices in those moments? Because as a mom, I totally get that. I'm like any moms who are listening right there are going, mm-hmm. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you're all probably like, mm-hmm. That's like those choices, it's like it's really hard. Even
Yeah.
though it doesn't seem hard, it's really hard.
I don't know how my mom did it because I feel like my mom always went to bed after us and like woke up early to make our lunches and stuff. now that he's going to TK, I was like, okay, we can't be late anymore. When he was in preschool,
Yeah.
it was like, but, like now we can't be late. So I do get up a little early, but like I am very much like a feelings, emotions driven person too. And being a writer and being a creative, I also know that like if my brain is hitting like a wall or like starting to get to a place where things are harder and not making sense, then I know like I have to stop. Otherwise, like the work is
Mm.
not going to be good. Right. So I try to listen to that because even last night I got to bed a little earlier, but it was because like my brain was shutting down. So I thought it's better to go to sleep, um, and be refreshed. And I just try to like write down all my notes of like what I need to do, where I left off, all that stuff. But yeah, I do try to just listen to my body and my brain. I have ADHD too, so like I need to take those breaks just for productivity, like
Mhm.
and efficiency. So reminding myself of that, like if I continue to work through just, like sleepiness or stress, like it's actually not good for my work product. So yeah.
I love how you shared that. It's like you knowing your own limits, but also how you operate.
Yeah.
Like when you said I'm a feelings kind of person, like that's like a key like indicator of understanding yourself in a very like not just like I like to do this, but in a very deeper way is how I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
Like you really kind of know yourself
Yeah.
and how you engage with things and like yeah, you're creative. By the way, Justine is an amazing writer. If you're not on her email list, you got to get on her email list. It's very engaging. I'm just
Oh,
like
thank you. I'm glad.
I'm like learning a lot too about like, oh, how is storytelling? Okay, so I'm putting a plug in here for you.
Thank you.
um,
I appreciate that.
So, and it's just interesting that knowing you and the work that you do as a creative, it's
Yeah.
totally true. Like you kind of hit a wall, and that's also like a sign, like knowing your signs. Like
Yeah.
that's amazing. That helps you make those decisions. I think that's the one thing I hear from, moms that I've, talked with or even just friends with, like they just like, how do you make that choice? I was like, well, I know how to make the choice for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and then it's like you just shared, like, I know for me,
Mhm.
for you, it's like your feelings. And when I notice this, it helps me make the choice to whether sleep or continue
Yeah.
working. So I'm really grateful that you shared that. And it's
Yeah,
a mindset
I
shift.
think it's so and I think it takes time for us to like really learn and understand ourselves, but also like break away from certain expectations. Like,
Mhm.
because my parents were amazing in like everything they did for us and offered us, but sometimes I'm like, maybe that's too much. Like, like I'm so appreciative. Like, if I ask them for something, they will drop everything and like do it. But I also know, like, again, I've like learned more about because I was just diagnosed with ADHD last year. So I've learned more about how to like recognize sort of the challenges, but also work with it and use it as a superpower. Um,
Mhm.
and just other things about like my own human design and all that.
Mhm.
And so leaning into that and recognizing, like, for example, with ADHD, like when I'm in the zone, of something if I need to like at least finish the thought. I can't stop. Otherwise, like and I had someone read my human design chart. I don't know if you've gotten into
Yes.
human design.
I'm a human
Okay.
design
Yeah.
fanatic. Yes.
So I'm like a manifesting generator and
Oh,
yeah, so she was telling me like you need to complete your task or like your otherwise you probably get frustrated and I'm like, yeah, I do. So so now I tell my son or even my husband, I'm like, I just need to finish this email or I just need to finish this like sentence or paragraph and then I can address you like
yeah.
and not be not be frustrated or upset. Yeah.
I love how you said like utilizing your ADHD as a superpower,
Yeah.
right? Because that's such a huge mindset shift too, right? For just anyone who is neurodivergent, right? Like that is just a huge thing to just stay, like utilize that. It's not a deficiency at all, right?
No, like
Yeah.
I think that actually is what helps me be a better writer and like makes me a good writer, or at least for me. Like everyone's
Yeah.
ADHD is different.
Yeah.
But yeah, like for so long we've thought of these issues as issues, like
Yes.
the problem. Like I was telling my aunt one day like about ADHD and just thinking like, oh, like I don't know, I'm starting to like pay attention to my son. He's still young, but like just to see like does he have anything? Because my husband had dyslexia as a kid.
Mhm.
Um and just being more mindful of like the way different ways people think and do things,
Mhm.
because it's so like we're raised in a society where we just expect people to operate in a certain way. Even learning, like when I learned my human design, I looked up my my husband's too to
Yeah.
see how can we improve our relationship. And I learned like he's I forgot what it's called, but it's basically like he's not a natural initiator. And society expects people to be initiators. And I am very much like a
Yeah.
go do things and get things done and initiates things. So
Mhm.
that was a frustration for me because I'm like, why doesn't he like just do things, you know? And I when I realized that, I thought, oh, okay, I've just been trying to force him to do something that's like not natural to him. Um, and so really just being mindful of like we all operate differently, think differently. So like, and that's another reason why I'm like, I don't think I can go back to a corporate job, because when you're like in the corporate setting, people expect you to do things certain ways instead of seeing like what how can they utilize your sort of strengths and like work around your or work with not work around but work with your natural um, design, your natural capabilities, and what your strengths are. So
Yeah.
I think I've like gone off topic, but
No, but that I love that. I love that because it's you're really like bringing out the importance of like not only understanding yourself of how you operate,
yeah.
right? And how you engage with things, but like understanding like even if you are, you know, um neurodivergent or my youngest daughter's neurodivergent. So
Yeah.
learning like and I get on my soapbox when people are
Yeah.
like, why isn't she, is everything okay? I was like, everything's fine.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like it's actually really great, right? Like
Yeah.
but I love how you are saying like these are like tools to
Hmm.
like understand yourself, right?
Yeah.
Between, whatever, neurodivergent, I don't like to say diagnosis, it's just like a superpower that you have, right? I hate using the diagnosis word because it just lends itself to like something's wrong with you.
Someone uh I'm friends with and like connected on LinkedIn. I loved how he put it. He called it my spice. What is it like?
My spicy sauce.
Like yeah, something like spicy neuro something. I don't know. He had
Yeah.
a great. I gotta go find what how he said it because it's like I'm using that, except I
Yeah.
forgot it, so I can't use it.
Yeah, so it's like these are all things that is supportive of you, right? Even
Yeah,
human design is supportive of you to
yeah,
understand as a mom, as a working mom, how you make those decisions of, what's going to be helpful for you, right? To be the
yeah.
best mom that you want to be or be the best person in your career. Um, so I really love that you brought that up.
Oh,
I'm curious to know, have you, experienced like difficult decisions that you've had to make or leaps of faith as a mom in your journey, even as a working mom? What were those like? And how did you like, what, what would you, how did you like have the courage to follow through with those
yeah.
difficult decisions, right?
Um. Again, I don't know that it's anything unique or profound, but a lot of it does come back to sort of like um I guess parenting style, and even just um like the decision to continue being my own business owner. Like this year we my husband was laid off at the same time we found out we're pregnant again. Um, so it was challenging, and it's like, okay, maybe I have to like find a salaried job and grow my business at the same time. And I applied to some and like was going through interviews, but I remember through one interview process where like it seemed like I kept getting to the next stage, but like I could feel internally I was resisting it so hard, but like still trying to, do the right thing and do right by my family. And I think thankfully I didn't end up getting the job, but like it it was sort of this like constant um question in my mind of like, am I doing right by my family? Am I being selfish if I want to keep growing my business? And thankfully, I'm working with an amazing business coach who like really has changed the trajectory of my business in the last few months. Um, and and I'm grateful for that. And that like we got to a point too where like maybe just a couple months ago, a friend of mine was like, "Oh, we're hiring if you wanna apply for this job. It's not posted yet." So she told me before it was posted, and I thought about it. It wasn't really what I wanted to do, but it would have been a good like band-aid um, for the moment. But it was also at the same time as like, okay, things are really picking up now, and I don't realistically know if I can do both like but like the one benefit of like the salaried position would be like the health insurance and all that, right? um but ultimately I just felt like realistically again I was in a place where business was getting too busy, and I don't know that I could survive, especially being like already 6 7 months pregnant at that point.
Yeah.
you know? um and so had to choose like health and like just trust that like I'm in a place where business is growing and we're like going to keep growing it, and we're just going to stick to this because this is what I really want to do and what I really care about. So that was one challenge, but going back to like the parenting styles and stuff, it's hard because I love my parents, but they have a lot of their opinions and they're vocal about it. Or I have other relatives who are we're a family that's very like in each other's business
Yeah.
with lots of opinions all the time. Um, and I think so much like the rest of our generation, I feel we are a generation of cycle breakers. So
Mhm.
trying to break certain cycles. And as much as I love my parents, there are definitely cycles I am breaking, from a cultural, generational perspective. Um, but for me, one thing that's been hard is trying to take some of these gentle parenting approaches and hearing sometimes even from my partner, like, oh, you're too soft. You're too
Mhm.
soft. But where I'm coming from too is in my like late teens, early 20s, I was in a very abusive relationship. And that opened my eyes after that. Like it opened my eyes to just sort of the foundational importance of healthy communication and like again, doing things differently than
Mhm.
how I was raised.
Mhm.
Um, and being a parent made me realize, like, as far as I've come in my own healing journey, when you are parenting, trying to break cycles while still really like trauma stays with you, I think, your whole life. So,
Mhm.
like, parenting with trauma is like you start to realize all the triggers that are still there and like it's I feel like that's been one of the biggest challenges is like like essentially like managing myself while trying to also do things differently for my son and like unlearn things while teaching. I don't like it's a big mess
It,
sometimes.
it's like, I mean, it's hard to explain that whole dynamic in that moment, right? But that must have been that must have been like a difficult decision to to intentionally not carry
Yeah, and,
the
like,
cycle from what you experienced.
yeah, and to, like, stick to my guns and say, "No, this
Mhm.
is how I am parenting," and, like, try not to let other voices bother me or, get in the way of what I feel I'm doing is right, because even, like, with my parents, sometimes I have to explain, like, "You did what you felt was best for us, and I'm doing the same thing, and things are different because we have more information now," you know?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
even, like, my dad just, like, loves to spoil my son, like, "I want an ice cream, have 2 ice creams," like, "Stop, you can't have that much sugar," you know? Even, like, little things like that, but
I don't know what's with grandpas and ice cream because my dad does the same thing. He's
yeah,
like, "I've got 2 fridges, a fridge full 2 freezers full of ice cream," and my daughter's like, "We're going to, Gung Gungs for
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
ice cream." I'm like, "Okay." I was like, I'm like, "I don't know why you have so much ice cream." Anyways, I digress, but, like, that's so
no,
funny that it's the ice
yeah,
cream.
no, like, one day we were there and, like, we already had ice cream, and then a few hours later, my son comes back with another. I'm like, "Where'd you get that?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, gave it to me." And was like, "Dad, he already had ice cream." He goes, "Yeah, but he didn't have the matcha one."
Yes.
Oh my god.
They have, like, 20 different flavors.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. That's very inspirational. Just you talking about breaking cycles in terms of parenting because I totally resonate with that, right? Like I feel like our generation is really intentionally wanting to like parent a different way and raise our kids a different and rightfully so because like my parents were immigrants so it was a different time. I
Yeah.
totally get that and love how you said like totally respect my parents. They did what they needed to do
Mhm.
and we're not the generation that's living that life,
Yeah.
right? And very thankful. And
Yeah.
yet there are some things that, yeah, we're trauma does
Same.
stay with you. And you're like, oh my gosh, how do I parent in this moment? I'm super being triggered. I'm trying to keep my shit
Yeah.
together. Like
It's hard. I honestly, I feel like I fail every day at some point. Well, the only time was, like, the other day I was, like, too tired where I'm like, "I don't even have energy to yell right now." But I'm trying not to yell. So
yes.
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Well, what would you say, as we're wrapping up our conversation of some, I guess, lasting words of wisdom that you can give to our listeners and our moms that are listening here?
Um, it's hard because it's, like, I feel like it's different for every mom, but I would say, especially for working moms, like, find the right support and community. Because as soon as I found that, and I wasn't even necessarily intentionally looking for, say, like, a business coach or something, but I happened to find the right person, and that led to, like, a greater community that allowed me to meet you, actually,
Mhm.
and really just finding, like, values-aligned folks, and especially when I meet other moms and we are, like, on the same page, again, values aligned, it makes such a difference because you feel like you really have people who understand. Because I have other friends who are moms or just other, like, my best friends, some don't have kids, but they're all in different places. They don't, m only one other, like, close friend of mine, from growing up is running her own business right now, so, like, she gets it, but, like, the others, as supportive as they are, they don't get, you know, the challenges of, like, trying to be a mompreneur, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so, like, finding the support where, like, because we all have different support systems, and I think that's important because people support us in different ways that we need. But, like, especially from the working mom's perspective and as a business owner, I would say, like, find this right support system who gets what you're going through too, because that really has made such um, a a huge impact on me. And I really have only just found this in the last, like, less than a year. So, um, and that's why, like, business is doing better, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that, and then I think again, like, really just trusting your gut and intuition and, um,
Mm.
leaning into that. It's something I've learned over the years for a long time, even before becoming a mom. But I think something about having children, like, you're like, I gotta stick to my guns more,
Yeah.
and stand up for them.
Yeah. That really aligns with what you said earlier about like, sticking to your gut and intuition. It's like the opposite of listening to other people, right? You're breaking like that in itself is a
Yeah,
difficult decision,
yeah,
sticking to your own gut and
yeah,
intuition. Yeah. So I'm
yeah,
really glad you shared that. And the community thing, so huge. Yeah, that's how we met. Right? Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
how I'm like, oh my gosh, there's other people who are moms who are mompreneurs and growing
yeah.
their business. So it really does make a difference when you find people with values aligned. That's
Mhm.
huge. Values aligned.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing just your story here on the podcast. And before we end here, we're going to play a game called Mom Moments in a Minute. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. All right. First question. So, to have a moment of peace and quiet to yourself, which place would you choose out of these 4 choices? Bathroom, car, bedroom, or closet?
The only place I can like hide is the car.
Love it.
Yeah.
And number 2, what is your favorite thing to do with your son?
Go to the beach, go to farmers. The beach is really our happy place. Like that's number 1. We're lucky to live close to it. So.
Love it. Love it. I love the beach too. That's my happy place. Number 3 and last one, to relax, what would you choose out of these 5 options? Spa, hike, nap, read, or craft?
I think spa right now. I love reading. I'm not crafty. I love hiking, but hiking like is work. So. A nap sounds really good right now too, but I think I could use a really nice spa day.
Spa. I love it.
Go to the Korean spa and get like scrubbed down.
Oh my gosh, I've never tried one of those, and all my friends like, we gotta try it.
There was one by us, like when I went for the first time, they like get in all into your hair and like I don't know what they do to your face, but then you feel like a baby's butt after.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scrape the skin off.
All moms, I'm like, I gotta go try that Korean spa.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on here. How can people connect with you and know about your work? So would you like to share with us, what is your business and how they can connect with you and things like that?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for having me. This has been so much fun, and I'm so honored that you asked. First, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Find me, Justine Wentzell-Chang. I am on Instagram at Red Balloon Station. And I've been more active about it, but I feel like I'm not as active as I am on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is better, or you can like connect with me, find my website, redballoonstation.com. In the spring of 2025, I will be relaunching a couple programs. I don't have like dates set yet because I'm like currently as we speak, I'm running the first versions of them right now. One is a brand voice challenge, brand voice and messaging challenge to help businesses like really hone in on their core values and develop their brand voice and identity to create like a strong messaging strategy. And so far it's been an amazing like time and group. It's so much with this work, people don't realize like with messaging, there's so much deep reflective work that we've had like tears, we've had laughs in the group, and very intimate groups, and just amazing people. So that will be one. And then the other is the other current program I'm running, which is a boot camp to build sales funnels for any launch that you might be launching yourself or as a business, and like walking through the assets and like helping you build it out so that you're held accountable to building it out. And because I know, again, like whether you're busy mom or not, just running a business in general is hard. And if you're doing it yourself or even with a small team, like sometimes we just don't have time, or like we're like, okay, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. But when you're launching something, you need to start like you need to get ahead of the game, and start nurturing those relationships. So that's the other program I have. It's called Launch Lab Bootcamp. The first one is the one I previously talked about. The messaging one is called Get Your Messaging Straight. So I don't have exact dates yet because I'm figuring it out right now, but that will be open in spring of 2025 again. We sold out both this time, so I'm really excited, and I'm gonna, as we get through, we're almost done with the messaging challenge, and we've just started the boot camp. So I'm gonna figure out like what tweaks might be needed, and figure out the dates from there, because I ran these two back to back, and that was a little much, like launching them at the same time, which I don't normally recommend anyways, but it just seemed to like make sense at the time and worked out, and also getting ahead of having the second baby. So it ended up working. But again, I've been like so inspired, so motivated by these groups that have come in, that I'm excited for the second round. So look out for that.
Yay, look out for that. So I'm going to include the links to Justine's, website, so you can stay and actually get on her newsletter, because that's when you'll know. That's when you'll know. And so thank you so much for sharing that. Follow her on LinkedIn. She's done some great things on LinkedIn with LinkedIn Lives and things like that. So, and I've learned a lot from those as well. So thank you for hosting those. And yeah, thank you for being on the podcast and just sharing with me and our audience your story.
Thank you. And thank you for having this space for us to like speak so freely and talk about our experiences, because it's a challenge and a blessing, like being moms and trying to work and like, trying to do all the things.
Yeah. So thank you so much. It's really helpful to me, but also to the listeners here. Like, I think there's a lot of things that, there is a lot of things that you said in this episode that are like, yeah. Right? Like, just nod your head. If you're listening, just nod your head. Okay. All right. Thanks, Justine.
Thank you.
Alrighty, moms, I hope you enjoyed and feel empowered and seen from today's conversation. Our mission here on the podcast is to amplify the stories of all moms so that you can be seen, heard, and supported in your motherhood journey, regardless of whether you're balancing motherhood with an external career or choosing to dedicate yourself fully to motherhood. And we would appreciate your support, because your support matters. And here are 3 ways to support the mission of the podcast. First, you can leave a rating on Apple Podcasts so more moms can discover this podcast. You can select a star rating by scrolling down on the Empowered Working Mom Revolution show page in the Apple Podcast app. 2, you can write a review on Apple Podcasts so more moms can find a place of solace, comfort, and belonging through this podcast. You can do this by scrolling down on the Empowered Working Mom Revolution show page in the Apple Podcast app and tap Write a Review. And lastly, make a one-time donation to the podcast for as little as $7 or whatever amount feels best for you. You can click the link in the show notes to make a donation. We appreciate your support, and thanks again for listening in and joining me here on the podcast. I look forward to sharing with you another inspiring mom moment story next week. So until next Wednesday, moms, have a great day.